And it annoys me because yes, everybody's like, oh, the internet is free, but you also need to know what you're looking for. Rosa, big up yourself, babes. And I just want to make it clear that Hass avocados are not man-made. They're not genetically modified. Hi Melody, how are you, babes? They were discovered. The reason they're called Hass is because they were discovered by a man. I think it's 1926. His surname was Hass. I believe he was a mailman, and he discovered this avocado, and then he selectively bred this avocado. So selective breeding is a thing for vegetables and fruits and things. A lot of things have been selectively bred, but that doesn't mean that they're man-made. And I know I talk about like healthy food and giving my children healthy food all the time, but I just think that there's a lot of like myths going around, and I see people speaking on certain things with certainty. And don't get me wrong, it's great that we can have access to information and we can learn a lot from people, but I'd really encourage you that like if you're making life decisions based on something that you have seen online or something that you've read or heard, just double check, just do a little due diligence. And that goes for like if I say something, just check it, right? um Someone in the comments was just telling me about the Hass avocado being man-made. I was like, no, it's not man-made. And then someone else was like, oh well, we don't have those avocados in the Caribbean. Yeah, I'm aware you can have different kinds of fruit in different places. And then they were like, oh well, I know what I know. Okay, babes. I mean, one thing you will never catch me doing is arguing with people on the internet. I will never. If you ever see comments going back and forth and it feels like there's an argument, it's not me. Somebody has hacked into my social media, because I refuse to argue with people on the internet. I just think it's weird. I think when people get so deeply passionate with strangers, I just think it like, do you not have friends? Don't get me wrong, I'll see something on the internet and I will have strong feelings about it, but I won't like start typing. I know we're not typing or typing, whatever. I will call my sister or send it to my best friend and I will then talk about it there. I'm never going to be like going back and forth in comments. I just think it's weird. So anyway, the point is that we should all just double and triple check the things that we are hearing, especially if we are making life decisions based on those things. And I just wanted to make it really clear that the Hass avocado is not man-made. It was not made in a lab. It's a real food. That's all I wanted to share. Granted, it does not taste as good as the Jamaican avocado, 100%. I give you that. But just because it doesn't taste as good doesn't mean that it was made in a lab. Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop talking about that now. Good, thanks. I hope you and the girls are getting on great. Babes, can't complain. Cannot complain at all. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. The girls are sleeping. I don't know why every time I come on a live, people ask where are my children. First of all, if my children were awake or like out and about, I wouldn't be on a live. Don't worry, it would never happen. And they are sleeping because it is after midnight. My children go to bed promptly every night. We don't play those games. Tired children are upset children, and you know that I don't want upset children. um, how are you, Kendra? Big up yourself, my darling. So yeah, what else is going on in my life? I feel like I need to do my eyebrows. Not that that's what you guys came on here to listen to, but yes, I feel like it's time to do the eyebrows. Um, I feel like we haven't been to the beach in a really long time. I know these are first world problems, but this is what I'm thinking. I feel like we haven't been to the beach. Oh, so I have a surprise booked for the girls. They had their first massages in Cambodia a few months ago, because yes, they're bougie babies. It was so cute. So they did yoga. There was this hotel that we went to. It was a Tui Blue hotel actually in Siem Reap. I would really recommend it. It's a great family vacation destination in terms of the hotel itself. And they have like a kids club and they have all of these children's activities, but they felt like they were really going above and beyond. So it wasn't just like, oh, they get to play around or something. They had cooking classes for them, arts and crafts, face painting, lots of things. And they also do massages and yoga. We did like sound healing together. And so the girls had their first massages there. And ever since then, one baby in particular is like, oh, when am I getting my massage? I was like, my girl, well, you know what massage? Anyway, the point is I have organized another massage for them. I'm very excited about it. I haven't told them about it because I like surprises, but also I just don't like disappointment, and maybe I'm a little bit like jaded, but I always just feel like it's better to just do the thing than say that it's going to happen just in case it doesn't happen. And I'm also the same, by the way, when it comes to visitors. So like even today somebody said that they were going to come and see the girls, and I didn't tell them. I never tell them if a visitor is coming, because as an adult obviously we know that plans change, things happen, whatever, and I just don't want them to ever be unnecessarily disappointed in that way. So I just don't tell them. And lo and behold, the person said that the traffic was too bad, so they weren't coming. And this person was also supposed to come yesterday and never came. So I'm very happy that I've not told them that this person's coming to visit them, because then they might take it personally. They might be like, oh, so and so hasn't come to see me, even though they keep promising. And I just share that to say, be careful, right? Like, don't give false promises. It's better not to tell than to tell a child and then don't turn up, because I do think that children's disappointment, they may not be affected by it at all, but they might be affected by it, and that is just unnecessary. um, Speaking of affected, recently, I don't know how it came up in conversation, but it came up in conversation that their granddad is one day going to DIE, right? And I'm a really firm believer in having all kinds of conversations with my children. If you know me, you know that the girls are screen free, so our like meal time is very conversation heavy, right? So this came up about their granddad, and I was like, yeah, I mean, he's gonna go one day, right? And another baby in particular was like, really? I said, yeah, we all do. Like, this is what happens. It's called life. This is what happens. And she turns to me and she says, you're going to DIE? I'm like, yeah, one day, not now, like, but one day. And she was like, really? But who? She says, who's going to cook for me? I said to her, don't worry, babes. By the time it happens, you'll cook for yourself. It'll be okay. She was like, but I want to talk to you. I was like, okay, but you can talk to me. I'm here now. You can talk to me. And so we are just going through this thing, and for like a week, every single day, this particular baby kept talking about DEATH, right? And I'm just trying to answer all of her questions. And then she finally comes to the conclusion that I'm allowed to DIE, but in 119 years. 119. I was like, that is super specific. And also, who wants to be alive that long? No thanks. 119 from now? So I just laughed it off with her. I said, well, we'll see, right? Anyway, today we were doing our homeschooling, and I have a French book that basically it's to help them with phonics, and we write out words. So today we're doing out these words that have the syllable E in them. And there was one that was a mummy, so like a mummy in a little coffin thing from Egypt. And so they were like, what is that? So I was explaining that, you know, when you DIE, for some people, this is they're embalmed and then you're put in this coffin, blah, blah. So I'm explaining all of this. And then one girl says, oh, is that what we're going to do for you? I was like, no, I just want you to bun me up and scatter me about the place. And they were like, what? And I realized that maybe that wasn't age appropriate, but whatever, we're already there. So I was explaining to them, no, I don't want to be in the ground. I just like, don't worry. And then one of them says, are we going to have to burn you up? I was like, no, you're not gonna have to burn me up. I was like, don't worry, you pay and somebody else does it, and then they'll give you the ashes. And we learn ashes in French, in case you're wondering. It's cendre, so CENDRE. And yes, I've been meaning to start the series where I teach you the words that I learn every day. So ashes was a new word for me. I'd never needed to speak about ashes before, so I looked it up. And so I was explaining to them, yeah man, just dash the ashes, don't worry about it. And the point is, one baby then gets super emotional, like out of nowhere she just starts crying. And then I was like, But we were all laughing about this. Hi, first 10. And then all of a sudden she was crying. And I wasn't sure if it was the talking about the ashes or the mummification. I wasn't really sure what was going on. And I'm a really firm believer in like, you can cry. I'm never scared of tears. So I was like, so I always ask my children, do you want to cry or do you want to talk? And in French, they begin with the same letter. So it's pleurer for cry and parler for talk. So it has a little, I like an alliteration, babes. So I was like, do you want to cry or do you want to talk? And she says, no, I just want to cry. I was like, okay, that's cool. So she was just doing her crying thing. And then she said oh, that's another thing. When she cries, I don't go straight in for cuddles. And if you watch me, you might think that I'm a cold, heartless bitch, but it's not that. I just think that a lot of times we presume what people need in terms of when they're upset. And I think it's really important for my children to know what they need, right? So you might just want to cry and express yourself. And if I just come in for hugs all the time, you might then interpret that as me like shutting down your emotions, which is never the point, right? So I always wait for them to say that they want a cuddle. And at which point she did, after a few minutes of crying, she was like, oh, I want to cuddle. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I thought, do you want to talk and tell me what happened? Because we were laughing and joking, and then all of a sudden you were upset. And then she said her nose was hurting her. I don't think her nose was hurting her because she didn't hit her nose. Nothing happened to the nose. I mean, granted, I'm not her, so maybe her nose was actually hurting her, but I don't think her nose was hurting her because recently I've noticed when she gets emotional about something, all of a sudden she gives me a physical thing. So like the other day it was her shoulder. Just out of nowhere, she said that her shoulder was hurting her. I was like, I don't think her shoulder was hurting her. But anyway, I accept the information that she gives me and then I let it go. Hi, Koya, how are you, my darling? So I let it go because I also don't feel like you should constantly like beat the dead donkey. If they don't want to speak, don't, it's fine. And so I left it alone. And tomorrow I will have another conversation where I ask about just expressing in general, because one of the things that I really want more than anything is that my children always know that they can talk to me about everything. And sometimes I'm thinking we're getting into this zone recently of when it is perhaps a negative feeling, they're for some reason not wanting to talk about it, or maybe they just don't want to talk about it in the way that I want them to talk about it, which is also a me problem, not a them problem, which I'm very cognizant of. But the point is that I don't think her nose was hurting her, and I think we need to address it in like an open way at breakfast tomorrow. So to be continued. I'll let you know how we get on with these emotions, but I don't know why all of a sudden they are very preoccupied with DATH. And also, is it normal for like a 5-year-old to want to know so much about life after? I don't know. This is the first time I've had children, so I don't have kids like around me in my vicinity, so I'm not sure if like that's just a thing. Um, yes, I am Sinkoya, and I'm from Jamaica, the best island in the world. Um, so yeah, so it's the weekend, but as you might know, the weekends mean nothing for me. It's just another day, babes. It's just another day. But I have planned out my travel for the rest of the year, which I'm very excited about because it means that I will be going home. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I love the whole global vibes, we are going on a plane in a couple weeks again. I am starting to feel homesick, and I'm very excited about the idea of just going back and going back for a few months, just sitting still and being around your people. I don't even like people. If you've been following me, I don't like people, but I like the idea of being around just my like immediate circle, and just to run a little joke. Like, I think Jamaican humor, there is just nothing else like it, and I just need to feel some of that in my spirit, basically. So that's all. I wanted to just come on quickly and tell you that Hass avocados aren't man-made. It's okay to eat them if you want to. They're not genetically modified. And to tell you that my children are currently obsessed with the idea that I'm going to DIE, and to wish you well for the weekend. I'm very, very tired, as we know, all the time. So I am trying to get an earlier night than usual, which for me would be amazing to get to bed by 2. So that is what we're aiming for. I hope you guys have an amazing night, and I will again log on tomorrow. Big up yourself. Bye.